So one of the things I've been dreaming of so that we could get more organized, because you can see our current hall tree is overflowing, was building or getting something that had individual lockers and plenty of space that we could put book bags and hats and clothes and everything else that we needed. I like buying things off of Facebook Marketplace for so many reasons. Preventing things from going into a landfill or just getting thrown out. I like to give things a new sense of life. Sometimes we just hit a dang jackpot off Facebook Marketplace. Look at these hall trees. I was so about to just build these.
Yeah, my friend.
Okay, ready? 1, 2. We got them in. It was not easy, but I've decided that I'm just gonna paint them in here because I never wanna move these things ever again. I don't know that it would be physically possible. So rather than, doing them in my garage, I'm gonna do them right in the space, which actually will work out. And I wanna tell you a little bit about my plans with them. So originally, I was researching how I was gonna build these. And to be very honest with you, I was intimidated. So when I saw these on Facebook Marketplace, I thought they're absolutely perfect and I can make them exactly what I need. Now, they were built as 2 different pieces. Ideally, what I want to do is create one wall with all 5 of the lockers. So we are a little bit big by like 8 inches. So I've got to figure out how can I take off 8 inches width of these 2 pieces, but it can be done. And here's how I'm going to approach it, I think. Step 1, I'm going to take off the baseboards of the wall. This will give me about 1/2 inch between the main baseboard and the quarter round, so I've got at least 1 good inch I'm adding there. Now, if you look up here, this crown molding extends a solid 2 inches. So I'm gonna pop this crown molding off. That'll give me about 4 inches there, on the same here, and we're gonna cross our fingers and pray that it all fits. So I'm trying to figure out how much I can pop off of these sides. I think this one, if I trim off a couple of the base trim here and the top, I'm hoping I can get it down to about 67 inches, 7 inches. So if everything works out as I planned, we're gonna be golden, and then what I'll do is I'll do a new piece of trim at the top to make them look really built in. Step 1 is gonna be getting them cleaned up. They're gross. They were sitting in someone's garage. Look at these drawers. It would be really hard for me to try to build these drawers. Happy to just clean them out. I mean, this is just so solid. It's solid wood. It's really beautiful craftsmanship. It's just dirty and needs to be given a facelift. So I started by tackling the top trim pieces first. These would be the easiest to get off. I used a cat claw and a hammer, and the trim pieces that were more decorative popped right off, and that was very easy. Okay, so my approach to this is I'm gonna take off all these pieces of trim first. But here's what I wanna be careful of. If for some reason my plan doesn't work and I need to just keep these as 2 separate pieces, I wanna make sure that I don't compromise the original molding, because if I've gotta put it back together, at least I can put it back together. So what we're gonna do is I am gonna label each of these pieces, so if I need them again, I can put them back in their exact place. Call a lifeline. Give old Joe a ring, my dad. Let's see if he picks up. Oh wait, it's my dad. It's my dad. Hey Dad. Okay, look at these awesome.
What'd you do?
Look what I found, Dad. Can you see that?
Whoa.
Look at these hall trees that I found.
Holy smoke.
They're perfect for
Where did
this.
you find those?
I found them on Facebook Marketplace. I went to buy the kids a bunk bed and the people were selling these, and I was like, I will take them. They will fit this space, but I need your help. You're my lifeline. Like on Do You Want to Be a Millionaire? I'm calling my lifetime. So I've got to trim them I've got to take off the trim so they can fit against the wall. So look, this top piece is giving me quite a bit of trouble. I think it's just nailed on, but it just doesn't want to come off. And I was using the cat claw, and I want to get your opinion on how you think I could, because I've got to either, here's option A, pop this top piece off. Option B, take my circular saw and just trim off the egg.
No, you gotta give it a good shot, Lena. Upward shot. Give it a good upward shot.
A big hammer.
Lena, take your hammer and right by where it nails in, not the overlap.
Yeah.
As close to the inside as you can.
Yeah.
In the corner.
Yeah.
In the corner. Just take it and whack it real hard. Get it. See if you can whack it to get just enough space so that you could put in the
Cat claw.
cat claw.
All right.
Try it while I'm watching you. Do it while I'm watching.
Well, I can't hold the phone and do it at the same time.
Well, you get your phone down. Do something.
Let me go get my hammer. I'll call you back. Okay. So this piece is just not wanting to come off very easily. So I've got an unconventional idea that someone is gonna get mad at me about, but I'm just gonna saw off things. I'm gonna get my circular saw and we're just gonna go shoot right over it. Well, that was clean. We can fix that with a little wood filler. Because I was taking off inches from the top, it meant that I also need to take inches from the bottom. So at the bottom of these pieces had some trim, like a kick plate almost, that jutted out an inch or two. So I popped those off. They were glued heavily, so they didn't come off in the cleanest piece, but I was able to get them off and then just use a chisel to get any fragments that were left behind. Okay, that was a lot of work, but I've got it in position and I feel really accomplished. And we measured and we've got 48 inches and we need 47, so it's gonna fit. So now I know how to approach the smaller second one now that I've gotten all the trim and the side baseboards off. There was a lot of glue, so that made it really hard to get some of those off. But I think I've got a good approach and I'm excited to show you what's next. These pieces had been sitting in someone's garage for who knows how long, and they had accumulated a lot of dirt, a lot of cobwebs, and a lot of dust. So the first thing that I did was get them very cleaned up. I used the Simply Green spray to wipe everything down. I vacuumed out all of the dirt and the cobwebs. After I cut everything down, there was no point in doing it beforehand because it was just gonna get a lot of sawdust and filth on it. But once I was done with the cutting, again, I just gave it a super deep clean so that when I applied my primer, it would have a nice fresh base to go on and you don't want any grime or dirt getting into your paint. Some people will tell you that's not necessary to prime a piece if you're using chalk paint like the JOLIE paint that I'm going to show you, but in this case, because they had been sitting in a garage and they were a little bit grimy and not the best smelling, I decided that I would prime them just to make them very fresh. Also, I like to prime a piece because I think it just makes it more scratch resistant, and these were dark brown, and if I wanted to go with a lighter color, it was going to be a lot harder to cover that up. So doing the primer was a twofold thing. It made it cleaner, fresh, and then gave it a nice white base so that I could use less paint to get it to a new color. I have everything primed. Now that I've got it primed, I have 3 colors that I'm going to try to decide which one we're going to use on this. They're all JOLIE paints, and I have 2 that I've used before that I still have some left over, so that's going to be used for my sample. I have a eucalyptus. We have Swedish gray. I use these on my kitchen counter, my butler's pantry to make them match my kitchen. And then I tried a new one. This is linen. So again, just trying to keep a consistent theme. So I'm gonna paint some swatches on here and we'll see which one we like, which one we're gonna go with. I have after painting on several swatches, I decided that I was gonna get a little wild and go with the eucalyptus green. I really love this color. It's so subtle and soothing. It reminds me of one of my favorite places in the world, which is Rosemary Beach, Florida. Just this green. It's probably my favorite color, and I've been looking for a place in the house that I could do this, and the mudroom seems like the perfect place. When I walk in, I want a nice calming color, especially if everything is organized, and I think it just made this wood piece pop and bring it back to life and look new and fresh. So that's what we went with. I really like the JOLIE paints. Again, there are lots of chalk paints on the market beginning, and you're playing around with chalk paint that are least expensive that I like. JOLIE is probably on the higher end. I have linked it below. I bought these from a local store, Pine and Pigment, shout out to them. But you can also order it on Amazon, and I have linked those below. Again, I really like this paint. It has beautiful coverage, and it's just a nice, thick, durable paint. One of the reasons I wanted to be really careful with getting off the trim pieces was so that I can reuse them. So I'm out here in my workshop, and what I'm gonna do is just trim these a bit so that I can put it back up on the top of each of the units to give it a little more of a finished look. The ideas that I had was trying to make these two pieces look like one single unit. I had the idea that I would take a small piece of trim and somehow attach it to the center where there was a gap to make it look like one cohesive unit. So I started by trying to glue those on, and let me tell you, it did not go well. It was just gonna look janky, and I aborted that decision about halfway through and just decided that I would leave them as two separate pieces, and it looks much cleaner and nicer that way. To cover up all the little nail holes that I got from using my brad nailers to put back the trim, I just used this little caulking that I easily spread over with my finger and then went back and painted over because it dried white. I decided that I wouldn't paint the wooden bitch covers, but rather I would make them look fresh and new and brought back to life a bit by just applying a dark wax. So you can apply a dark wax over a stained piece of wood, and again, it's going to give it a rich color. It's going to make it look shiny and new, and that's exactly what I did with these pieces because I like the contrast of the green, but with the natural wood as well. We have a lot of natural wood elements, so I thought it would tie in nicely. Alright, so I'm going to be adding these drawer pulls to the drawers in the bottom of the mudroom lockers, but they only had the one hole. So what I've done is I've measured everything out, and I'm going to drill 2 new holes so that I can put in my new hardware. So that's what it will look like when it's done.